crafters, it's Jamie here from Pieces of Me making a card. Just prepping with my EK Success powder tool piece of black Basil Card Shop cardstock. I'm just using a new Wplus9 stamp here. It's beautiful to do some heat embossing, so I can use some metallics to watercolour this piece. So it's brand new, just taking the package off now. The quality of these stamps is incredible. They're just beautiful. And I love this particular one because it covers so much of a card. It stretches right across in one go. You just need one impression. It's really quick. So just putting that in my Misty tool, picking the stamp up there. I've just got magnets galore holding the paper down so it doesn't shift. And I'm using my Versamark ink pad here to ink up the stamp. Now that does double duty because when you use Versamark on a stamp, it actually conditions it too, so it'll take ink better. The reason I'm using the Misty is because if I don't get a good impression the first time, I can actually re-stamp it again and it won't miss any of the embossing. So I'm just grabbing my Ranger Superfine Gold embossing powder here. I must get some of those clips to put the spoon on. And just applying the embossing powder to the card that I've already prepped. Now, this works really well because you can just, especially for cards, tip it straight back into the container and you actually don't need a folded piece of paper, so that was redundant. Just grabbing my heat tool now. I heated it up before I brought it to the cardstock. But how cool is this? I love heat embossing. It's just magical. So much fun to watch the powder melt and change before your eyes. I just love it. I think it's so cool. The amount of times I've heat embossed is, I couldn't count on two hands, but I really love doing it. I've done it for years and it never gets old. So just embossing the gold image on the black cardstock. Now, I've just waved it a few times to cool it down. I have made the mistake. I'm saying there, don't touch it while it's hot because you'll smear the powder and you've wrecked your card, so don't do that. I'm just using my hand now to wipe off the powder. I've got these two sets of metallic watercolours. The one I'm choosing to use on this one is actually the Prima Metallic Accents. That's just a swatch on white cardstock of what the colours look like. Must do a swatch on black because they actually look different. Just using my sprayer here to wet down some of the pans. These metallic accents, they behave differently to watercolours. They're kind of thicker. They take a while to activate because of the pigment, the mica in there, so the mica powder's in there. I'm just using some Prima watercolour brushes here and I'm just swirling the colour around in the pan to activate it and mix the water in with the pigment and the mica powder so we get a nice colour to apply the card. So obviously I started with green because green and leaves is easy. It was an easy decision to make. So I'm just trying to be a little bit careful because these aren't actually watercolours as such. They kind of paint over the embossing. You can still see it, but it's just not as prominent. And I wanted the gold to shine through. So I actually just tried to be a little bit careful painting this. So here I'm just taking my time, using a really small brush. I started with a size 2 brush and figured that I actually need to change it. That's what I'm doing here. I changed to a size 0 brush just so I can get in all the teeny tiny crevices and try and avoid painting over the gold lines of the embossing. So I'm just going ahead now, continuing to paint those leaves. These colours are beautiful. They're so sparkly and pretty. So much fun to work with. It's just mesmerising. And when you tip the finished piece in the light, it just catches the light and it looks incredible. Now these, I don't know how to explain it. They've kind of got a bit of an iridescent sheen to them because how the colours are looking on the black cardstock, and this is the first time I've used black cardstock with them, it comes out a bit different to what the colours look like on white. So I must do a comparison and show you the difference between how they look on white and how they look on black. So this particular colour, in the pan and on white, it looks quite green, but you can see here, it's coming out on the black cardstock quite like a bluey green, which is pretty, it's beautiful, but it just wasn't what I had expected. So I'll do a swatch and show you. I've had these for a little while, haven't really used them very much. So this was a nice chance to just get them out, have a bit of a play with the new stamp, play with these metallic accents and just create a card, I guess. I'm running a bit low in my card stash, so I thought I would take the opportunity and film while I was doing it so you could see what I'm actually up to. So I do want to buy the Fine Tech watercolor paints. They come in like, I guess they're called pearlescent versions, similar to these, but they also come in iridescent ones, and their iridescent ones actually look pretty, almost just like a colory shimmer on white cardstock, but on black, they're just stunning. They're beautiful. So I'll have to see if I can get hold of some of the Fine Tech palettes and have a play and compare to what they come out like as compared to these Prima ones. But I do love the Prima ones. They're really great. If you're looking for, you know, a good variety of colours in one palette, this is pretty good. You've got from light to dark, you've got all sorts of different options there, so it pretty much will cover you. I just am addicted to buying things as much as I am to actually creating, so when I see a new product, I need to have it, I need to try it and see if I like it. My problem is I don't have enough time to create as I would like, so I probably do more haul videos than creating videos because I just work all the time. But for me, crafting, especially colouring, is a great de-stress. It just gets your mind off the day, allows you to wind down, have some me time, and just, yeah, focus on what you're doing and nothing else. So it's mental health time for me. So I don't know if you like watching colouring videos. I do. I watch people like Christina Werner and Sandy Olnock do colouring videos. I find it quite therapeutic watching it as well as doing it. So this particular one, I've left the colouring in here. I have sped this video up to 2 times, so I don't actually move quite that quickly. But if you don't want to see the colouring, maybe just fast forward to the end and you can see what I actually do with this piece and see the finished card that I create with it. But I left this colouring in because I enjoy watching it. So for those that do enjoy watching it, it is here, and I thought you might be interested to see what the actual colours of these paints look like on the black cardstock. So I'm really loving using this cardstock. I haven't had any problems with it warping. I didn't tape it down to anything. I just painted straight on there. But having said that, I found with these paints that you don't want a really watery consistency. You kind of want to mix the paint so they become a bit creamy, and then when you're putting it on your brush, you only need the tiniest dab, so dry is kind of better, if that makes sense. It's just a little bit easier to control. It doesn't spread as much and doesn't cover up your lines of embossing so much. So you can see I'm really wiping the brush off, so there's not too much paint on the actual brush when I bring it to the cardstock. I personally just found that easier to do. But if you've got any tips on watercolouring with metallic paints, please be sure to let me know. But that's how I sort of did it as I was going along. I just found that, yeah, that was easier for me. So mix it up real well, let the water soak into it first, and just don't put too much pigment on your brush at a time. You can see I'm barely just dabbing the brush into the pan of colour, and that's sort of enough to do a small flower without having to go back in again. So that worked really well. So this cardstock, I chose to use the 12 by 12 Basil card shop and cut it down. I actually don't know if this cardstock comes in different sizes. It might. But yeah, I just cut out a couple of card bases. The card front size that I use here in Australia, which is basically half of an A4 size sheet, is 5 7/8 inches by 4 1/8 inch. So I got 2 of those, and then one slightly smaller, so more like a card layering size for the front of a card. And that was just out of sort of one strip that I cut from the marshmallow cardstock. Sorry, I say marshmallow. It's not marshmallow. Marshmallow is the name of the colour of the white version of the card shop cardstock. If that made any sense. If you have any questions about this cardstock, let me know. I actually buy it from Peter Macbeth at Scrapbooking from Scratch. They can order it in for you if they don't have it, but black and white's really the only 2 colours of this cardstock that I buy. I'm sure there are others, but they're the ones that I buy because I'm usually colouring or painting or doing mixed media or something on them, and they work really well for that. And yeah, I think I'll be using it more often for this type of thing. I have to experiment with various white types of cardstock, whether that's watercolour paper, the card shop in marshmallow colour cardstock, or whether I use the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. I use that Strathmore with my Zig Clean colour pens. It works really well, so I'm guessing it probably will work well with this kind of technique as well, but I haven't tried it. So I'm just using that pinky colour here to do the middle of the purple flowers, just to give it a bit of dimension, I guess. Change it up a bit and break up the colour. Just checking if there's any spots that I might have missed here, and look at that, it just turned out so nice. It dries quite quickly, but I did, just with the last little bit of the pink, use my heat gun to dry it. So now what I'm doing is just cleaning off using my Lawn Fawn stamp chamois, just with water, the stamp that I had used in the Misty, because I want to use the sentiment there, the hello sentiment, and I'm going to put that down the bottom of the card. So I'm just putting magnets all over the place, they're all there, may as well use them. Prepping the surface again with the EK Success powder tool, positioning the sentiment where I want it, lining it up, closing the door to pick it up. I'll then ink it up with the Versamark clear sticky ink. Stamp it down, just check that it all stamped how I wanted it. It did, it's only one short words, that's no problem. I'm just going to use the same gold Ranger Superfine embossing powder that I used on the big flower stamp. Just knocking that off, making sure there's no stray bits. Really must get those hooks to put the spoon on the lid. It annoys me having to touch all the granules. It does my head in. I'll get round to it. I only ever think of it when I pull a dirty spoon out of the container. So I'm just heating up my heat tool here. It's nice and hot. You can see the powder melting. It's still so cool. Love it. So just done the hello, letting it cool down a bit before I rub my fingers over the cardstock, because I don't want to ruin it at this point. I've put too much time and effort into colouring it. So make sure it's nice and cool. Tappy tap, waiting. Now I decided I didn't want to do too much to this card because it had so much going on already, but I thought it needed something to finish it off. So I've got my gold Heidi Swap Colour Shine, and with this Heidi Shine you've got to shake it, because if you don't, it leaves a really weird sort of oily mark around it, and if you turn it upside down and you can see that all the colour shine's coming away from the bottom, that means you've shaken it enough. So just putting a few splatters. I don't want to go nuts with it, but I thought it went well with the arty look to have some gold splatters on there. So that's what I've done here. So I'm just, now that it's dry, using a fair bit of adhesive on the back with my ATG gun to attach it to a card base, which is white. That saves a dark cardstock as well. You can just make a one layer card and write in it with, say, a gold pen would be really beautiful, but in this instance I've just attached it. A little bit of overhang, I'm just trimming that off from the back. And I've decided I want to put a sentiment inside. So this came with the stamp set as well. I'm just using my VersaFine Black Onyx ink pad. You have a kind and beautiful soul. What a lovely thing to say to someone. So then I decided, actually, no, I do want to put some more on there. I don't really know when to stop. I'm sure a lot of card makers, not just me, have that problem. So I've got this Elizabeth Craft Designs, I think it's made for beads, a bead holder, but I've got sequins and stuff in there. Just pulled out a few to see which one I wanted, and I decided to keep it really super simple, and just use these little small, I don't know what size they are, but they're just sort of iridescent sequins. So I've got my Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish here with the fine Quill Creations tip on there, just using my Quick Sticks tool to pick up the tiny sequins and place them on the card front. And I usually like to put odd numbers of embellishments. I think it looks much better, a bit less unstudied, to have them sort of scattered around in an odd number. So trying to put it down, probably didn't have quite enough adhesive on that one, so I just pulled the end of the tool out to help me position the sequins exactly where I want them. Just putting a few more on there. This adhesive is really super strong. The matte in the name of it means it dries matte, not shiny, so if any squeezes out you don't really see it, to be honest. Just giving that a bit of a tap before I put the lid back on so it doesn't stick, and that's the finished card. So I hope you like this card. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye!